Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for attending Video Marketing Study Group office hours. This is going to be the very first one of 2023, and this is our year three of doing these things. So, getting pretty comfortable with them, having a lot of fun with them, and hopefully, everyone's finding them as valuable as we are educating. So, let's go ahead and just jump into it. Like I had already mentioned at the beginning, let us know who you are in the chat, where you're coming from, what company you work for, whatever you want us to know. While you're at it, you can let us know what kind of video experience you have, if you're kind of entry level or if you have some video experience, so we kind of know who we're speaking with. We'll do introductions real quick. My name's Aaron Oberdick. I'm the video marketing manager here at Nextiny Marketing.
And my name is Corey Christian. I'm the multimedia marketer here at Nextiny Marketing.
Awesome. And like I mentioned, we've been running this. This is our third year running office hours now. So if you guys aren't familiar with us, hopefully we have you in a few more office hours down the road. First thing I want to cover before we get into the content, this is the office hours of the study of video marketing study group, right? So hopefully you're a part of this group. If not, we would highly recommend you joining here. Obviously, this office hours we're going to talk about video specifics, but if you want to talk about anything video in general, when it comes to marketing, sales, service, pre-production, production, post-production, you name it, you can conversate with people there. Like you see, we have almost 1,200 members now. And that's continuing to grow. We're having a lot of people just conversate in there and talk about their ideas, their strategies. And so, again, if you have any sort of video related questions, this is a great opportunity to join this group and ask those questions. You know, definitely get feedback from either Corey or I, or as well as the other peers within that study group. So, definitely a good group to be part of. And the second thing I want to talk about is going to be boot camp for video marketing, sales, and service. So, if you're not familiar with this, this is basically a free HubSpot course designed to be about 6 weeks long, where we go in detail each week on something video related. Alongside that, you're going to learn each week on how to record your own videos. So, if you're a beginner with video, this is going to be an excellent course for you because we're going to teach you how to get an application downloaded, how to get you walking through your first steps to record your first video, make really minor edits to the video. And each week, we're going to kind of do almost homework assignments where you're going to record videos. And then at the end of 6 weeks, the goal there is to be not only comfortable on camera, but comfortable creating those videos as well. So you can use those for further uses, right? You can go ahead and create email videos, sales prospecting videos, video voicemails. So a lot to learn there, and it is a bit extensive. You know, we always ask you to do a little bit of work, and we understand everyone has full-time jobs, so this is a little bit of work. But if this sounds interesting to you, definitely check the link out that Corey just put in the chat. We're taking registrants right now. I don't know if that's open for Q1 still, but we are doing our Q1 in January, late January, and then Q2 we'll be doing this as well sometime, I believe, in April or May. So definitely go to that link and check it out and register if that sounds good to you. And if you have more questions about bootcamp, feel free to pop in the chat and we're happy to answer anything you might have there. All right. So hopping into the agenda today, just going to cover a few things here. The year ahead video in 2023. And there's a really interesting topic that we keep seeing pop up recently with a lot of different tools. And now we're even seeing it dive into the video world. And that is artificial intelligence tools. So I marked down Adobe Sensei right there, AI tools. That is going to be an Adobe product. They're just adding in artificial intelligence features to all their products. We're going to talk about a few of those features that have helped us on projects that we've worked on already. Once we get that going, Corey has a few things he's going to show on the DaVinci side, and then we'll hop into the Q&A that we always conduct there at the end. All right, so 2023 AI in video. And the first one I'm going to talk about is Adobe Sensei and the features that it has currently. So Adobe Sensei is basically the artificial intelligence tool that's added into Adobe products. And this is just going to help you along your projects, right? Really minor, specific details that we spend a lot of time on as video editors. This is really going to alleviate all of those really time consuming and tedious tasks. So, first one I want to talk about is color matching. if you have ever gone into color correction and color grading, you might find if you're using multiple camera brands and camera models, colors are going to be all over the spectrum. Every sensor reads colors a little bit differently. And so you're never going to have perfectly matching colors in your project. So the first thing that Adobe Sensei is going to do is it's going to understand the color scheme of a specific scene. And so what you're going to do is say, I really like the color scheme of the scene. I've color corrected it. It looks really nice. And now I just want to go ahead and match that to all of the scenes that are similar to that, right? So you can basically take all that color matching and then add it over. And Adobe's basically going to process that and understand, hey, this red needs to be turned up a little bit. This blue needs to be turned down a little bit. And it's going to go ahead and just kind of turn the dials and specify exactly what you want. A cool neat feat A cool feature as well is it has facial recognition. So if your skin tone's really important, right? You want to make sure you're not changing anyone's skin tones. Go ahead and select the person. It'll enable that face detection and it'll pay the special attention to skin tones. So definitely a really cool tool. And I've already used this in a few of our projects. It's been amazing. Copy and pasting the lumetri color on every single clip gets a little tedious or even an adjustment layer. So you can just simply color match everything. And with one click, boom, now your whole project is color match. So that's going to be the first thing that AI is definitely helping us with video. The second one's going to be auto reframing. So you can watch from the video playing here. Basically, what Adobe Sensei is doing is it's detecting all of the movement, the activity in the frame, and what people actually want to keep their eyeballs on. And it's able to basically crop our horizontal 16 by 9 video into 9 by 16. So it changes it from horizontal to vertical. This is going to be perfect when we're doing social clips or we need to post to any social media platform. We're able to basically just auto reframe, export. It's as simple as that. You used to have to go make a new timeline with those exact measurements, drop it all in, crop it, reframe it. I see Corey shaking his head there. It's like, what a pain in the butt that used to be. Now it is one click of a button. So
With all the
really cool thing.
keyframing for the animation and stuff like that, like, it's handled here for you, so you don't have
Right.
to worry about the object, like, in this case, the boat leaving the frame, it's already doing all of those movements for you, which is great.
Exactly. Yep. All right. So the third thing I want to talk about is going to be music match. Now, any video editor out there knows that it is very tedious, especially if you have a song that's a lot longer or shorter than your project length, right? Because then you're just trying to duplicate the song and extending it, or you're trying to find a good touch point where we can fade that music out. You're able to basically drop music now onto the track and it'll match it together with the person speaking and then know where it should start and stop. It also has ducking levels, so you're able to kind of duck underneath. So if while someone's speaking, it's able to manipulate that audio track and understand where it needs to dip the levels at certain points and then pop it back up maybe when the speaker's not speaking. And this is all, again, one click of a button. AI is just completely understanding how to do this for us. And I have spent so much time just keyframing little tiny dots here and there, pulling, one frame of audio because someone coughed and just cutting that out, but bringing it back up because they're still speaking. It has become such a tedious task that's simplified through AI. So another really cool feature that we're learning from artificial intelligence. And then the last thing from Adobe I wanted to talk about that I believe is the coolest is going to be content aware. You're able to see from this really small clip, trace the car, get rid of it. Simple as that. I mean, it's mind blowing, but you're able to bring any clip into After Effects now, and it works with Photoshop. So you're able to use that content aware fill, draw kind of a circle around any object that is not supposed to be in the frame, and Adobe will use the surrounding frames and it'll replace those removed pixels with seamless content. So it's not 100%. So don't go and drop all of your clips where you have unwanted things in and then say, why isn't it working 100%? Because of course, this is an ongoing working process, but I have seen vast improvements with this feature and it's really becoming really cool and I'm excited to just utilize it. I know we've had so many shoots where someone leaves a tripod bag and you can see it in the corner or there's something minuscule, right, like an exit sign that you just want to remove
Starbucks
from the
cup.
frame. You're able to remove those now with the content aware. So really cool stuff. All right, Corey, I'm going to go ahead and dish it over to you. You want to talk about some DaVinci AI tools?
Yeah, I mean, you'll kind of notice that a lot of these are very similar. If you look at this first one here, this is the intuitive object masking. So uh, the DaVinci neural engine, the AI tool, has already learned thousands of different objects. They've trained it on a bunch of different things. So, for example, in this image, you can see they used the little dropper and they just clicked on the vase there, and it highlighted the vase on the right. So it recognized that that was an object in the frame. And now you can do things like you can track that movement, you can um, add additional grading or even object removal, all those kind of things by just a click of a button. And you can do that with people, vehicles, food, animals, all sorts of different things. Um, so that is very cool, and it's kind of very similar to the way the Adobe one works. Maybe not all the cases if you're trying to do object removal is it 100% perfect, but it gets better every time it's doing this, and it's picking up on the adjustments that you're making after the fact, and the neural networks are getting better over time, which is awesome. So the next one is about warped surfaces. So in this one, you can see the gentleman, his shirt volunteer. You can see that the words volunteer are very kind of warped and weird. This is basically looking at the font and looking at the points in the actual artwork and warping the actual mask itself so that when he's moving or any other kind of movements going on, it can kind of tell with a lot more accuracy what's happening to the object instead of it kind of jumping around or something like that. So it makes for logo replacement and things like that, like what's on the right hand side. They swapped the word volunteer and they stuck that nice big company logo on his shirt. So they were able to replace that by just literally tracking that word on there. It does it automatically and they just replaced it. So you can put graphics. You could like add maybe tattoos or perhaps remove like a mustache or something off of, maybe like Superman or something. That could be cool to try. So there's a lot of just different kind of random things that it's going to track and recognize for you, which is fun. The next one is automatic depth mapping. So depth mapping is kind of a fun thing that's been a little bit more kind of recent to video, but it's been around in photos for a while, right? So anyone with kind of a more recent iPhone, you're getting that kind of depth mapping effect by having multiple cameras. So it's able to kind of separate out your subject, your foreground, and your background. And now you could do kind of very interesting things with this. The DaVinci Resolve Automatic Depth Map basically sets you up and generates a 3D map of the scene. And it kind of says, hey, this is kind of probably in the foreground. This here is in the middle. This looks like background information. And it tries to basically generate this so that you can kind of more or less separate your scenes, right? So maybe in this case, maybe I want to make the driver a little bit darker. Maybe I want to appear a little bit more in shadows, but I don't want to make the whole back of the car super dark. At this point, I would be able to just grade that just middle section where he is and bring that down without editing any of the other foreground or background information because it's looking at its space in the plane of the scene, which is really cool. And it does all of that automatically. So you can do that kind of thing to maybe make your interview subject pop out, or perhaps just kind of, brighten or darken backgrounds. Maybe you want to just kind of dim the background and make yourself kind of stand out from it. You can blur the background out using things like this. So you can kind of simulate that shallow depth of field look. So there's a lot of really cool, just kind of interesting stuff that depth mapping is going to bring to video as well. And then the last one, this one is the Resolve FX Beauty. This is something that has been in the tool for a little while, but it has certainly gotten much better. Um, Basically, they did a whole bunch of learning. They brought in actual professional colorists to have see what they would do to some of these images, and they've really spent. I mean, months, if not years at this point now, training this neural engine to do really good human facial recognition and beauty adjustments. So you can see it softened her complexion, it brightened the eyes a little bit, and it can do all these kind of different things automatically, and it will track the person as they move. So any of these adjustments will be done even if they're walking around, even if you're showing something off. All of those adjustments can be tracked, which is really awesome. And that is about it. And there's tons of things going on in the neural network, and they are growing all the time. I think a lot of people, when AI kind of first started coming out to video, they're like, "Oh, well, there goes, there goes our jobs," or something like that. But it's not replacing video editing, right? It's just making our jobs easier. So it's leveraging these tools to try to cut some of those repetitive steps out and elevate the quality of our work.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said there. So that kind of like wraps up our little our tidbit on AI in video. But of course, if you guys have additional questions about that, we're more than happy to discuss it further. While we talk about that, we're going to hop over to the questions in the study group. And so we like to highlight some of the questions we see rolling into the study group that just feel informative and that we'd like to talk about in office hours. Of course, holiday season now. This is the first rendition of January, so we only saw one question roll in. But of course, we want to touch on it. And that question is, what would be a good professional editor to jump to in 2023? I'm using Vidyard right now. So this is a really good question because this kind of jumps into all of those AI tools, right? It feels very overwhelming. Like that was a lot of information. But at the same time, you'll learn that it's a nice bell curve of education in a lot of these platforms. You'll learn that you can do a lot of, all the bells and whistles, and you can apply all the effects and do everything. But you can also just edit a very simple video in a nonlinear editor. And that's kind of where I like to bring in Premiere. Adobe Premiere is like we talk about working in conjunction with other programs. You can use Photoshop, you can use After Effects, Adobe Audition is built into it. So it has all of these really awesome programs that can work in conjunction with it, but it's also just a fantastic standalone and nonlinear editor. You can bring in your clips, you can cut them up, you can export them. Very simple. But like I said, you can also bring them in and add every single effect you want onto it, and make it really intricate and sophisticated as a project. So I always like to recommend Adobe Premiere. Of course, that's what I use professionally. So some people get a little bit scared. If it seems a little overwhelming, you could always try Adobe Spark at first. That's kind of like the simple editor that they have. That's, I believe, on your phone. You import some video clips. You can edit. Kind of just trim the clips up, put them together, and export them that way. And it also kind of has a little bit of a similar layout to Adobe Premiere. So it's a nice learning curve to jump into Premiere if you want to. Corey, do you have any recommendations there?
Yeah, I was just gonna say Adobe Premiere is also hugely popular, so there's plenty of resources out there. There's tons of YouTube videos. There's plenty of learnings and courses and like very deep dive things that you can go through for even a beginner to learn the ins and outs of these programs pretty quickly. That's kind of one of the benefits of going with, what they would call like a more of an industry standard kind of software, like a very popular software like that, is that you're going to have tons of resources, which is always great when you're learning something new.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, there's a lot of different editors you can still jump into. There's iMovie if you're a Mac user, and of course, there's free platforms out there that you can jump into as well. Because Adobe Premiere, that side note, it is a paid subscription, so that is one thing to take in consideration. But definitely our recommendation. Um, okay, it looks like we do have a question coming in. Um, so we're into our Q&A session. If you guys have more questions beyond this, of course, you can ask in the study group, but we'll hop over to the questions now. So let us know in the chat if you do have questions. I see a question from Teresa here. I have a client asking for a personalized video, for instance, a welcome video that includes a new member to their organization's name. Do you recommend a specific platform for that? That sounds like a really, we do a lot of introductory videos. We do email signature videos, and we use Adobe Premiere for that. Of course, Corey does edit in DaVinci Resolve. That is a little bit higher level there. So I wouldn't recommend trying to download that platform to learn. But if you do find yourself getting comfortable in these editing platforms, it might be a good jump. But definitely check out first a program called Descript. It is a free program, and it's what we use in the boot camp to do all of our videos. it has a little bit of a lower learning curve because when you import a video, it automatically transcribes all of the speaking parts and you edit it almost in like a Google Doc form. It's really cool. You can delete whole sentences and that'll cut the clip, right where it needs to be cut. You can apply some really good audio effects for completely free. And the application is also free to download and try out. So I would highly recommend Descript to try to cut more of these simple videos together. If you have a budget, of course, like we've talked about, Adobe Premiere is a great platform to do these as well. But yeah, Descript is a pretty simple platform that you can start kind of getting those cut together in a quick format, and you can also export very easily.
And if you make like a template or something, for example, you could very easily use something like their overdub software, where you basically teach Descript your voice, and then you can type in a script. So you could type a message to the person and basically make a graphic like welcome, and you can include the person's name, and then just type in welcome Anne, and it will say that name in the spot. So you can basically program the overdub AI to speak for you for some of this stuff. So you don't have to go and record every time you do these, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. And then I see, does it integrate with HubSpot to merge the data? And that would be more speaking towards like the hosting platform, right? So if you now there's HubSpot video. So if you have a paid HubSpot subscription, of course, you can upload your video into the media center and you can then apply it anywhere you want and track all of your analytics all within HubSpot. Of course, there's other hosting platforms that integrate directly with HubSpot. There's Vidyard that a lot of clients use. There's also Wistia, which is what we use personally, and we're able to integrate that with HubSpot and then track all of the analytics in HubSpot as well. So, yeah, absolutely. All right. Anyone else have any questions while we're kind of just hanging out? This is our last slide here, the thank you slide. So we'll just go ahead and put that now. Um, All right. I don't see any more questions coming through, and people are kind of dropping off already. So that's totally fine. If you guys have more questions, like I mentioned, anytime throughout the next month, literally 24/7, hop over to the study group. Definitely ask your questions over there. As we see people just becoming more active, we're seeing more people respond. And so the community is definitely growing and giving really good input. So ask your questions over in the study group. And then, of course, you're welcome to join us again for next month's office hours and continue to ask questions there. Um, awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you guys in the next office hours.
Yeah, thanks, guys.